Hey guys, what's up? This is Bevan from Rational Awareness, and excuse the bad lighting. I try to record these during the day, but sometimes I just feel like making a video, and now's one of those times, so bear with me. Anyway, I want to talk about how thoughts can spiral out of control if you're not aware of them and if you're not disidentified from them. For example, maybe you have the self-image of yourself as, old. Like actually, I had this last few days, I'm not old, but I've been thinking, you know what? I am getting kind of old. I'm almost at the end of my 20s. I'm 29, and it was just a thought that occurred, and then I started noticing that thought, just old, pop up every now and then, just really funny, just like that one. I don't know if it was really a vocalization in my brain or of the actual word, or if it was just like this feeling of old. But I was noticing it and looking at this thought pop up, and it occurred to me that before I would have really sort of potentially let that throw me off course, and just when you start thinking about old, then you're just like, okay, oh my god, I'm so old, what have I accomplished at this age, and oh my god, how many more years of youth do I have, etc., etc. And then you just, whatever you're doing, you just start feeling bad, and then you just get depressed, and you're like, okay, well, ice cream time, or whatever you do when you're kind of depressed. And it just goes downhill from there. So I think we can all relate, to this. Maybe not the old example, but maybe it's, maybe you're fat, and you just think fat, and that triggers this downward spiral of depressing thoughts, or single, or whatever it is that, kind of gets to you. And when you strive to be in a state of presence and you strive to observe your thoughts, you start recognizing these as more or less arbitrary apparitions in your mind. You don't identify with them as much as you normally would. And once you do that, you start getting some compassion for yourself. You start seeing that these thoughts that you have are really, they're not really so meaningful. It's what, there's just these random occurrences, and the meaning is really what you assign to it or what you don't assign to it. So if that thought of being old or being whatever pops into your mind, you can take that as a serious sign. You might go, oh, old, wow, I should really dwell on this and let my thoughts spiral out of control on this subject. But if you are present at that moment, you can just see it for what it is, and that's just a random thought that happens to pop into your mind. Just let it pass away and don't dwell too much on it. And if you do, that happens as well. It happens to me. Just observe it for what it is. Take a lesson from it the next time that happens. If you catch yourself in an unresourceful state, as a result of a downward spiral, that was caused by a single thought, just catch it and be more aware for next time. So that's all I want to talk about for now. Strive to be present as much as you can to catch these errant thoughts, and don't let them spiral you out of control. Well, that's it for now. If you want to find out more about continual breath awareness, subscribe to the channel and watch the other videos. Basically, constant mindfulness, so you can be better in tune with your thoughts throughout the day. And that's it for now. Talk to you later. Bye. Alright, so I want to add a little obvious caveat to what I just said, and that's that, many thoughts that spontaneously arise can actually lead us in the right direction. They might shine light on an area of our life that we haven't really handled yet. And so you don't want to just disregard thoughts willy-nilly just because it'll be unpleasant to think about, right? For example, the example I used in the first half of the video about being fat, for example. Well, if you really are unhealthy, or you have some other issue that kind of impacts your well-being, that's a thought that you might not always want to disregard. If you can't really do anything about it at the given moment, then you might decide to brush it off if you're in the state of presence, because it might not be resourceful to dwell on it at that particular time. Instead, you just might make a note to, read that book on health or whatever it is, or maybe even sit down and make a plan to achieve better results in that area of your life in the future. But if it's not something that you can address in the moment, you're free to drop it. And that's what presence allows you, is the ability to basically decide what thoughts you want to dwell on and which ones you can safely disregard. And generally that boils down to, things that you can control and those things that you can't. If you can deal with it, that's one thing. If you can't, you don't have to dwell on it. And yeah, that's what I wanted to add. So anyway, stay present, observe your thoughts, don't dwell on the unresourceful ones, and I'll talk to you next time.